Hey guys, welcome to Real Life School Podcast. Today I am super pumped, okay? We got a few goals for today. One of them is, hey, we're going to talk about some financial issues that many people have, okay? We're also going to be talking about how those financial issues impact people's lives when they are going to buy a home. Okay, it's Money Month, April. I brought on a fine gentleman, Vince Mazzocco. I've known you for 10, 15 years. He is in the mortgage business industry. He is with Mortgages by Mazzocco Group. And frankly, how we met was a long time ago, man. So You have funded multiple projects, multiple homes, investment properties for me.
Yep.
And this is my time to give back because even when I was in the military for the last 10, 15 years, I have called you and been like, hey, Vince, I'm buying a place in North Carolina. Hey, Vince, I'm buying a place in Alexandria, Virginia. And this man has always been there. You are a true expert. And I am very grateful to have you on the podcast today. We're going to be talking about these financial issues that a lot of people may or may not know about.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't understand how big the impact is on their life. And I'm just super pumped to have you. So,
well, thank you. Pumped to be here.
Yeah, man. So you've been in the mortgage industry for a long time, but I want to start with who you are, what you did, and how did you get here before we really dive into the full thing. So there you were, young Vince Mazzocco.
Okay. So I'm a young guy, coming out of high school. My passion's automotives. My dad worked at Chevrolet. I liked cars. So I went to automotives in high school and ended up in an auto parts job right as I'm exiting high school. And this particular company was very entrepreneurial driven.
Okay.
A pair of brothers owned the company. It was maybe 25 stores when I started. And they essentially, they didn't care about education. They cared about guys that wanted to make money and they could hustle.
Sure.
So that's what it was all about. So if you showed some enthusiasm at the counter and you hustled and you showed some brains,
sales, baby,
sales, yeah, you got to run your own branch, which is ultimately after a few years So I'm running this automotive business for 15 years. I'm a successful branch manager, after about 15 years, I'm running a store, and there are ebbs and flows just like in any business.
Sure,
and we get, I'm 12, 13 years in as a branch manager, and I run into a couple bumps in my store. Some guys are stealing from me, and that takes a while to figure out, what's going on. And everybody, just to put context in this is in the 80s. There's no computers.
Yeah, right,
so,
right.
We take inventory on a notepad.
Yeah.
And that's how we place our orders.
Yeah.
So when your inventory is disappearing, there's not a computer telling you, hey, there was 12.
Yeah,
and now
flag.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So I end up getting let go because the store wasn't performing, and there was only one excuse for that company, and that was the manager.
Yeah, you're done.
There's no excuses.
Yep.
It's you.
Yep.
Right? There's a problem. It's you.
Yep.
So out I go, and I'm like, okay, where am I going to go make the kind of money that I made running this auto parts store? Because we were paid based on profitability.
Sure.
The more profitable you made your store, the more money you made.
Makes sense.
Well, back in the 80s, this would have been 1990. Actually, by the time it was 1994. I'm let go. I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I can't make this kind of money going to an O'Reilly's Auto Parts or an AutoZone.
Sure.
So,
did you own your own home at the time?
I did. Yeah.
Okay, so you had your own primary residence.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
got it.
Actually, my second home.
Okay.
Because I bought my first place when I was 22. So now I'm 36, and what do I do? So I decided, okay, I got to go back to school. So I'm 36 years old. How am I going to go back to school? I don't want to sell my house, so I rented my house. So I moved back in with my parents. I'm 36 years of age.
Okay.
My secondary passion was finance, because an uncle got me into the stock market and got me buying stocks when I was not even out of high school yet.
Cool.
So I buy. So I go to school. I get a degree in finance. So my bachelor's degree is in finance, and I moved back with my parents for 4 years.
Okay.
And I rent out my house.
Okay.
I didn't want to move.
You didn't want to sell it either.
I didn't want to sell it.
It's an asset.
Right? It's an asset.
They're paying for it.
It's growing.
Yep.
In value.
Yep.
Somebody else is paying for it, and I was making good money on it because my payment was like, of course, this is a long time ago. It was like $600 or $700. They're paying me $1,000 rent. So it's cash flowing huge.
Yeah.
I'm upgrading it as the years go by. I'm putting an air conditioning unit, which I
Sure.
didn't have, and doing this and doing. So 4 years goes by, and as I'm coming out of college, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Well, stockbroker was the main thing for guys coming out of finance.
Sure.
Well, stockbroker back then meant you sent 500 flyers out to households.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I got this ABC and this XYZ stock. And then you follow up with a phone call. Hey, Tyler, I sent you that synopsis. Do you see that in XYZ? Hey, I'm trying to get his money out of his pocket
Yep.
to get it into my portfolio so I can be his finance guy.
Right. And you're making a million calls a day. Call.
All day long.
Yep.
Get the flyers out.
Yeah.
And that's all it is for 8 hours.
Numbers
making
game.
Calls. Numbers game. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think so. That just ain't me. I'm used to working face to face with the customer, coming in the store, helping him with his part and his starter, and I'm working face to face with
building
this guy.
relationships.
He needs me.
Yes.
Right? He needs me. He's coming to me because he needs a starter. He doesn't know how to fix his car. He doesn't know how to
Bingo.
put that axle in the U joint, and I'm helping him.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, he's like, hey, he goes, he's a CPA and he works down the hall in an office building. He's like, these guys in the mortgage business they make pretty good money.
Yeah.
The job, the flexible hours.
Yep.
Which I had in the automotive business because as a branch manager, I could come and go as I want. So he's like, why don't you check this out? So I go and I interview with these guys, and that's how I end up in the mortgage business. So I'm coming on the end of my 4 years. I'm coming out of college. This is a pure, you don't close deals, you don't make money. This is a commission job.
Yeah,
right?
you don't eat. Yep.
So I'm coming up on the end of my 4 years, and I'm in the mortgage business, and it's commission, and the checks are coming in, but they're not steady. And I'm living with my parents, guys. I'm 36 years old now. I went back 32. I'm 36 now. And I'm like, God, I got to get out of their house, right? I mean, this isn't good for a single guy.
No,
right?
it's real bad. Real bad for the brand, for the Vince brand.
Right. I'm 36 years old. Guy lives with his parents. Seriously?
Yeah.
You didn't launch yet?
Yeah.
Well, I launched a long time ago.
Yeah.
So as I'm coming up on that year, the family that's in my house, they're like, hey, do we need to move? Our daughter, it's her senior year. So I'm like, God, I want my paycheck to be a little more consistent.
Yeah.
So I tell them they can stay for another year. So I'm now staying at my parents' house for another year while I'm working, not even in school.
Sure.
And I say, yeah, you guys, as soon as I told them they could stay, the check just started coming consistently.
You're making money.
So I'm making money.
Yeah.
So that's
What'd you do with that money, by the way?
Well, I made a poor decision and I bought a car, but I bought a nice car, but at the time that 12 months was over, that car was paid off.
So you pay, okay. Here, the takeaway is, yep, you were making money, rented out your house, but when you made that money, you bought an asset, a car, everybody needs an A to B, but it was paid off, and then you had enough money to move back into your own house because you're making money.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So now I moved back in the house. It's
Okay.
been a lot of upgrades.
Yep.
And because I was doing good cash flow,
Yeah.
I completely updated the house when I moved back in. New kitchen, new flooring, new
Solid.
because all the payments that I was making $300 or $400 a month. That money just sat in the account.
Yes.
Month after month after month, I moved back in.
A little
I got
bit of
an extra
interest
20
back then?
grand.
What was interest back then?
Yeah, you probably had a little bit of interest on the checking
1%,
account.
2%.
Yeah, right. So and that money all went into the house, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm in the mortgage industry, and now I'm helping people.
Yeah.
So I can go out, I can sell a product because now people need my help.
Yeah. What a
Right?
fantastic start. Like full circle, and you're not alone. They're like all these other people. There are a lot of people that are living at home with their parents.
Yes.
But you had to do it because you had an executable plan.
Right.
I got let go of my job. It was making good money. Things happen. We get it. Hey, mom and dad, I need your help. Great. 4 years, I'm going back to school. Step one. Step two is you're renting out your asset, your home, primary residence. They're paying down your principal and you're making a little bit of cash. Okay. Thanks, mom and dad. I appreciate it. But I also have an end date. As soon as I can get on my feet, which was quantifiable post school,
Yep.
then I'm going to move back into my own house. For a lot of you guys out there, I mean, mom and dad are carrying your butts with no plan in sight. You had a plan. Mom and dad appreciate it. They totally motivated you, totally said, yep, Team Vince, giddy up, 4 years, but you're going to get back in your home. That's fantastic.
Yep.
And these renters were paying for your mortgage.
Right.
That's an incredible story. Since you're in the mortgage industry, and you've been doing this a long time.
Yeah, 1998.
Okay. For the viewers here at Real Life School, we talk about money, real estate, and life. it's April. Okay. So, and I want to tie in all the debts that you see, because you've been doing this a while. What are some of the biggest financial debts that you see on a daily basis? What are they?
Okay, so in no particular order.
Okay.
Car payments, student loans, credit cards, sometimes IRS debt. You know, that can be more on the self-employed side.
Okay.
Medical expenses.
Okay.
Those would be the primaries, but probably the biggest one, and I'm going to quantify this with some numbers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Car payments, people.
Yep.
Car payments. Okay. So you're living with mom and dad.
Sure.
I was living with mom and dad.
Sure.
And you go buy a car and you've got a $500 car payment. And for some reason today, people think that $500 car payment is not a big deal. Well, $500 car payment, if you're making $100,000 a year, that's okay. But what I see is a $500 car payment on somebody making $40,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's $3,300 a month. 40,000 divided by 12 is $3,300 a month.
Yep.
You got a $500 car payment. $500 divided into 3,300 is 15% of your gross income.
That's significant.
That's significant. The maximum your debt ratio can be for all of your expenses to buy a home is 50. Well, 15%
35 is the only
just leaves
room.
35.
Yeah.
Well, now you got a credit card.
Yep.
You got a couple of student loans.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, you're tapped out on buying a home, the wisest purchase you should be making.
Sure.
Because you wanted that car so you could look fancy with your friends.
So right? I used to talk to all the Marines back in the day when, getting these bonuses. And when a bonus would drop, whether you're in the military or outside as a civilian, you get these paychecks and they're like, what am I going to do with it? They're not putting this money to work for them, right? They're buying these depreciating assets. Yeah, everybody needs a vehicle. I got it. A to B. If you're living in New York, maybe you don't need it. You probably don't. Living in the Valley here, A to B. All right. Until you can pay cash for it or you can reduce your payments. I mean, that's my stance on it. You don't want to, when you're first starting out, as you all know, as you know too, it's very hard to gain momentum. And by buying that depreciating asset reduces your lending power, reduces options to take more risk on something that is an investment. So, these big debts, like a vehicle, right off the bat, you got to put insurance on it, tires, fluids, windshield stuff happens, right?
Regularly.
All this stuff starts to strip away opportunity costs for you to purchase something such as real estate, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
I just thought of another one.
Hit it.
Okay, so now this one doesn't show up for us.
Yeah.
In the mortgage industry, but Instagram, Facebook, social media marketing, Spotify, I can't even name them all.
Yeah.
But these games, these apps are draining companies, corporations through social media have found a way to get into everybody's pocket. $10 here. I'm going to sign up for that. It's only $10 a month.
Yep.
10, 12, 18, 20.
Yes.
All of a sudden you got $200 a month.
Yep.
An expense.
Yep.
I see. I came up with another one. Sorry.
Don't be. Send it.
So because when you asked me the question, I was thinking a credit report.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the bank statement. So first-time home buyers. Oh my gosh, guys. I get these first-time home buyers. I got a couple right now. And part in the mortgage industry, part of what we do is send me your bank statements, your pay stubs, your W-2. Let me look at everything.
Yes.
So, and especially with these first-time home buyers, I'm a counselor, right?
Of course.
I want to teach them.
Yes.
Right? Okay, so Tyler, you've just sent me your bank statements.
Yep.
And hey, Tyler, hey, buddy. Okay, so I know you told me your comfort for a payment is X.
Mm-hmm.
And you told me how much you want to pay for a home. So, but really you need to have about $200 or $300 more into your housing expense to get that house that you're telling me you want to purchase. So as I'm looking at your bank statement here and dude, again, and this is what we do as homeowners.
Yeah.
Right. We want to be financially successful. We want to buy an asset that's going to appreciate.
Right.
we need to look at what we're spending our money on. Okay, so Tyler, I'm looking at your bank statement here, and I'm really gonna go through it. Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So McDonald's,
Yep.
Wendy's,
Yep.
Starbucks, Taco Bell. That's Monday, April 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Tuesday, April 2nd. Taco Bell, Payway, Starbucks, Circle K. And Circle K is $9.84, so I know it wasn't gas.
No.
Okay? You get my point.
I get your point.
So
food.
I add
convenience.
Convenience foods.
Convenience.
So I add all this stuff up. I'm like, Tyler, that was $450 you spent
Yeah.
between McDonald's, Starbucks, Circle K last month. Okay, you can go to the grocery store and buy bread and a half a pound of turkey and buy a bottle of water or drink water out of the faucet that's free.
Yes.
And there's your the $300 you told me that you couldn't afford in the house. There it is. Right there it is. Right there.
So
I'll
incredible
put car, then that.
Convenience foods.
Convenience items.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So
car first.
Yes.
Convenience items second. In fact, convenience items equate the car payment.
Oh, 100%.
All the time.
But they think, well, I got to eat anyways, right? So they're the habit pattern. We dive into this in other podcasts and on reallifeschool.com, but $4 a day. And I equate it to like a Monster. So a lot of these people will drink multiple energy drinks per day.
Yeah.
If you just cut 2 Monsters a day, $4 a day, you're able to amass enough money for a primary residence, whether it be a condo or a townhome, in little as 3 years. I just did this on a podcast just not too long ago.
Totally.
So you just nailed it. Okay, I'm hungry. I want breakfast. Well, great. Had I gone to the grocery store and knew that, oh gosh, I have to eat breakfast
I'm going to be
tomorrow.
hungry in the morning.
Exactly. Instead of going to spend $4, $7 at McDonald's for one little mac and cheese or McGriddle thing, it's like I could have just made some eggs. It would have taken me an extra 20 minutes. It would have cost me 20 cents.
Right.
Vice $5.
Right.
That's an opportunity cost.
Totally.
Right? That's what we talk about.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact, and this isn't about this, but the nutritional value.
Amen.
Right, but this is about finance.
Yeah, and that's next month. That's the next month. Health habits and life and parenting and all that stuff. That's next month. But not to mention like what goes into that food. When I make my eggs at home, I got some olive oil and I can throw some garlic salt on there. I know that's probably bad, salt and all that stuff. But I am in charge of what goes into my food.
Totally.
Right? We have a culture where it is super busy, regardless of what industry, what market, how much money you make. You got somebody that's just trying to hustle 3 jobs. They're making 40 grand a year. Their time is just as constrained as somebody that's doing something multi-billion-dollar CEO.
Mm-hmm.
The time, right? So the convenience of the food has a drastic impact on your ability, whether or not you can buy or not buy that first primary residence.
Right.
What a fantastic point.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Convenience
items. Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
Everybody's got one of these.
Oh yeah.
And this, why do you have to have the brand new one every time it comes out? You make $40,000, you make $60,000 a year. You don't need to be spending $2,000
I know.
on a phone every 18 months.
Yeah, and well, they roll, the $20 per month into your payment, which just increases or decreases your debt to income ratio. Now you don't have the leverage anymore.
Big corporations have found a way to bilk you for every dollar.
Yeah.
They get to your dollar first.
Yeah.
And when the consumer can realize that, wait a minute, I don't want that guy to have my $20.
Yeah.
I want that $20 to be in my pocket that can go to a house.
Bingo.
That is going to appreciate for me.
Bingo.
And do me things down the road.
Bingo. So we talked about the IRS and the medical bills, not to mention it's April and the return check, right? It was your money all the whole entire time. We'll talk about that with exemptions and so on and so forth, so you can retain more of that money, opportunity cost to put that money to work for you. But great plug for when you receive that bonus check.
Yes.
Bonus check. That is a great time to start thinking strategically on how can I buy my next property?
Right.
How can I amass generational wealth? Take that money and talk to somebody like you. Truly, you have been such an incredible mentor going through all my bank statements, my mortgages, and my W-2s over the years. There's been no secrets on my financial statements with you.
Doubt.
So That's a plug, Vince Mazzocco with the Mortgages by Mazzocco Group. But we still got a few more stories. Okay, so stick with us here. All right. How many times have you seen bad debts interfere with a potential home purchase? Now, I know we were talking prior to with the date 1942, right? So it's a compound question. When has it interfered? And also, have you ever seen a home or a property, a piece of real estate that given over 50 or 100 years, have you ever seen a property 100 years ago be worth X and then look at it 100 years later and have it be worth less than when it was 100 years ago?
So we were talking about this earlier.
Yes.
And there's a statistic since 1942, which is 80 years, whatever it is, 82
Public
years.
math.
Yeah,
Public math.
right?
Sorry, guys.
Yeah.
80 years-ish.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you purchased a home in 1942, 1943, every year, and you looked at that property every 10 years. So 1942, you looked at it in 1952. Then
Okay.
and then if you bought in 52, you looked at it in 62. So if you bought a home, and then every decade you looked at the value.
Okay.
The values were higher every single year since 1942, with the exception of 2006.
Okay.
If you bought a home in 2006 and you looked at it in 2016, it was worth 1.5% less. Only 1.5% less.
1.5%
Over 10 years.
less.
Right.
Yeah, over a
10 years.
10-year period.
Right.
Period. So I think it's safe to say, Vince, that you will never lose in real estate if you have enough time to hang on to it.
Right.
So that is this. We're coming into a market here. I mean, real estate for the social media, this fad of real estate. I don't call it a fad, but it is a new trend over the last 15, 20 years. You got HGTV, you got the fixers and flippers, and you got all this stuff.
Right.
Everybody's catching on.
Totally.
But they haven't caught on to how the heck do I buy it?
Right.
Right? How do I do it?
So a lot of those people that are catching on, they figured out that they're not going to McDonald's. They're not going to Instagram. They don't have 15 apps that they're paying $10 a month for.
But it's just $10, Vince.
I get it.
It adds up.
It adds up.
It adds up.
$100. If you got 10 of those, and if there's actually an app that tells you how many of those subscriptions that you have, and people are like, I'm paying how much a month?
Right.
Well, multiply that by 12 and multiply that by 5 years.
So the whole point of this podcast is to bring awareness, right? You're the expert. You've seen this, and you're the broker between owning the real estate and the person that hasn't been able to make that step yet. A basic budget. I mean, at Real Life School here is our mantra. Okay, we want you to finally be able to live and breathe in a life that you are not constrained by somebody else's pressure on what you do with your life. What I mean by that is, I want you to have your finances squared away. I want you to prioritize where you put that money. If you like your Starbucks once a week, have it be a treat. Don't have it be a way of life.
Right.
Okay. That's step one. Your finances squared away. Step two, you need a place to live. I get goosebumps just talking about this because I have preached this my entire life. You're paying rent or you're paying a mortgage or you're sleeping on mom and dad's couch or a friend's couch. One way or another, there is going to be a roof over your head if you're living here in America.
Yep.
Okay.
Gotta be.
How do you make the link between how we manage your finances today and to be able to live that American dream of being a homeowner? Because your mentality and your psychology and your habit patterns change the minute you go from being a renter to the day that you actually own it.
Yes.
Right?
For sure.
Back when you were starting out and you said, I took all this money and I was living in mom and dad's place, but when I moved back in, I did air conditioning, I did carpets, I did all this stuff to bring more value to the real estate.
Right.
The secret's out. It ain't no secret anymore. There's money in real estate. And we were talking about the supply and demand earlier. Remember?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
let's dive into this because this all ties into the money aspect. All right, I think we got our point across on how important it is to manage all these 10% subscriptions here and there. But what were the numbers? Homes for sale and the demand here.
Okay, so now there's the fine tune of this, but I'm just going to give the big numbers because I don't have them. So okay, so if we go back a decade and we look at the crash, and when houses were coming on the market because of the foreclosures, right? So people bought homes with zero money down with 500 credit scores. Well, those people shouldn't have got loans, right? We're giving somebody a 500 credit score. We didn't talk about credit score. Probably should.
We will next month.
So all these people put no money down.
Yeah.
So values begin to. So let's talk about why the values fell. Do you mind if I go down that path for a minute? Okay. So this person gets into at the time I was at Wells Fargo Home Mortgage.
Okay.
And the one thing I'll say good about Wells Fargo Home Mortgage is they would not allow us to give these. What did they call them? We called them liar loans. Or what was the other thing? If you could breathe on a mirror, you could get a loan.
Okay.
What did they call those? Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, but we didn't do any of that.
Okay.
Either you had the income qualifier or you didn't. So people are coming to me going, hey, Countrywide approved me for this loan. And I'm looking at it going, you don't make that much money. How did they qualify for this loan? Well, it was called a negative amortization loan.
Okay. Yep.
So this negative amortization loan meant that you could pay or what was the other words? So they were neg-am, which means they went the opposite way. If I only paid $1,000, the payment was actually $2,000.
Okay.
But if I only paid $1,000, that means the mortgage went up $1,000. So if I started with a $100,000 loan,
it's 101 now.
It's 101.
Got it.
So, or there were option arms. That was the other one. I could pay $1,000, $1,500, or $2,000. Well, because they put no money down.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, they were also adjustable rate mortgages. 2 years later, that payment doubled or quadrupled.
Yep.
Well, now all of a sudden, I can't even come close to making that number.
Yeah.
So then people just all of a sudden started to feel the pressure.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I put no money into it. And then they just start walking away.
Yep. See you later. Here's the keys.
But
I'm taking the toilet. I'm taking the toilet.
Right.
I'm taking the light fixtures.
Right. They feel like they were anyway.
Yeah.
We won't go down that path.
Yep.
So back then we have 2.5 million homes on the market nationally. I'm talking national.
What year ish range?
2010, 11, 12.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So we got 2.5 million homes on the market.
Okay.
Fast forward till now.
Okay.
Nationally, we have somewhere around 900 and 950,000 homes in the market. So we're a third of the inventory, and we've created 10 million more families. So what's the problem with that?
Screaming demand. Screaming demand. Yes.
So I'll put it in context one more time. 2.5 million homes in the market.
Yep.
950,000 homes in the market and 10 million more families to buy.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Nationally, it's not just here in Phoenix.
So economically, this isn't an economic, podcast, but supply and demand, right? If demand is high and supply is low, that is only going to drive values higher.
Right.
Right. So we see that here in the Arizona market, these apartment complexes, condos, it's cheaper to build up and out than it is to build one single family home.
Right.
So you're seeing thousands of doors being built in North Scottsdale. Right. So the demand signals are there. Okay. For you, what we're trying to get you to understand is that the means to an end, the paycheck that you're getting today is so critical in their first step to making that leap to being a homeowner. And that's our dream, to be able to rest your head at night underneath the roof, that you're, being in good hands with a good mortgage broker that's not going to allow them to be overextended. We understand people lose jobs, things happen, medical stuff happens, but to get their debt to income ratio in a good spot, manage their debt, reduce these depreciating assets, that's your job. It's not your job. Your job is to bank them, but that is what you do.
Right.
You've been doing that for me for 10, 15 years. So the demand signal is there. It's totally telling all these people, hey, including private equity firms, right? I own investment properties. You have investment properties?
Yep.
Okay. On a daily basis, I get probably 3 to 5 phone calls. Hey, do you own this property at blah, 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 blah?
Yep.
And I'm like, yes, I do. I am not selling it. You get the calls too.
Yes, I do.
That is a demand signal saying, hey, there's value here. There's value. And not only that, there's enough value for private equity firms to hire all these telemarketers to make thousands of calls all day long just for one single lead. Okay. How do we do that? You start getting in touch with somebody like Vince. All right. Money management. You get in touch with mentors at Real Life School. We do a basic budget. The budget's on the money page on reallifeschool.com. I can show you how much money you're spending and where it's going.
Right.
And then I compare it to everybody else that's in your age demographic. So you get a real-time comparison on how well does Tyler in his 30s stack up against somebody else, Vince, who's in his 30s, if you were in your 30s. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yeah. 30 years ago.
Yeah. My point being is that we're bringing awareness to it.
Right.
Okay. I want to finish off with one more good story. Okay. Because I know you had this example and we were talking before the show, and biggest life takeaway. And you started telling me about a few couples.
Yeah.
That through their journey of you knowing them and working with them and them trusting you with, being their lender, can you just tell us, can you share with me and them this progression?
Yes. Okay.
Please.
So this, so over time, I've been at this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
25 years.
Yes.
So I'm now doing financing for kids of, your kids.
Yes.
Some, because so anyway, so I can think of three right off the top of my head, three sets of couples that bought their first home with me, whatever amount of years ago, 15, 18 years ago.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, and most people don't realize this, that you can buy a primary residence with as little as 3 to 5% down.
Okay.
And for some of you first-time homebuyers, there are first-time homebuyer programs where that 3% is available via a grant. So, you don't necessarily need it. And this is IRS time. IRS guys, you're getting a refund. Some people are getting $5,000.
Yeah.
That's down payment money.
Yes.
And if it's not down payment money today, Real Life School is all about, hey, what are we doing in the future?
Bingo.
Stick that $5,000 into a CD so it's earning more money.
Yes.
Next year when you get your tax return, $5,000.
Boom.
Boom, there's $10,000. Now $10,000 plus the grant money, I buy a house.
Yeah.
So these couples, back to the couples, but they purchased their first home with 5% down.
Okay.
So for simple math, let's say it was a $100,000 house, and they buy it with $5,000 down, and they live in the house for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And when you buy a house, the mortgage note specifically says you will occupy this property as your primary residence for 12 months. So several years go by. Jane and Joe are calling me up again. Hey, Vince, we want to buy another primary residence.
Yeah.
Okay, great, Jane, Joe. What do you guys want? What are you guys looking at?
Yeah.
We're looking at something that's $200,000. What are you going to do with your departure rent? You going to sell it? No, we were thinking of keeping it and renting it out. So now they're buying a $200,000 house. They're going to put 5% down. So now they need $10,000, and they're going to buy another primary residence. They're going to rent the departure.
Yep.
And the couples I'm talking about, the 2 or 3 that I can think of, they now have 3 or 4 investment homes themselves by continuing to buy primary residences at 5% down, but turning them into an investment home 2 or 3 years later, versus trying to buy an investment home today and buying an investment home where if you buy an investment home, you can get by with 15% down, but really it's 20% down.
Yeah. So they have to refinance those homes when they leave that old primary residence. So when they buy another primary residence, right, they're getting financing differently on the new property. What do they do with the old property?
So the old property stays intact 100%. So they have the low mortgage interest rate of a primary residence, because an investment home, the interest rate is going to be much higher than it is on a primary residence.
Yes.
So now, because they bought it as a primary residence, they've got a really good interest rate on that primary.
Yep.
That note stays intact. Stays with the home. But because they fulfilled their 12-month obligation,
boom,
they can now move out.
They're good.
So I even had a realtor do this when rates were super low. She was like, hey, Vince, my husband and I, we want to take cash out of this one because the value had gone up. They'd been in it for like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Value had gone up a ton. She could see themselves moving. She goes, we want to take cash out now.
Yeah.
So they took $200,000 in cash out. So as a primary, so they could A, buy an investment home, and then B, have enough to go buy another primary residence with a significant down payment.
Yeah.
But they did it early. They were thinking ahead.
There we go. Bingo.
They were thinking ahead.
They're proactive.
Right.
Yeah.
So they had a strategy and a plan.
So we know, gosh, I talk to people on a daily that I know they're struggling. Okay. working one job, trying to create a secondary income with the second job.
Yeah.
I get it. And, you know, working Monday through Friday, 40, 60 hours a week, they don't have the capacity or mental power to kind of think other than past Friday, right? That's why we have these comments that everybody says, oh, Monday scaries, thank God it's Friday, et cetera, et cetera. The point of it is we're bringing awareness, okay? These people that you talked about, the couples, it took them 10, 15 years to amass 5 properties.
Right.
It wasn't something, we just did a podcast with Jim Castellanos a little ways back, and he's like, it took me 2 years to find my primary residence. And the point of all this, the moral of the story is it doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
The couples took 10, 15 years to parlay it into another property, into another property. There is wealth in real estate, period. Mm-hmm. Okay. You have been an incredible conduit for helping me build generational wealth. You've been an incredible mentor. So, I mean, you've heard it here live, guys. You've heard it here, Vince Mazzocco, and incredible story. Your testimony of working in a job, it was making great money, and then something happened, adversity, life happens.
Right.
Okay. There's other viewers that are going through, if not coming up on the same situation. Right. Right. It's inevitable. Seasons of life. Right.
Totally.
And then, hey, I needed some help from mom and dad. I'm going to crash in your house. Great idea with a plan to move forward. Okay. We got a lot of other people that are sitting there and, you know, the motivation's not there because mom and dad love them. They're great kids, but they can't launch. Right. You got to have, if you're going to do that, parents, if you're going to allow this to happen, make sure that you guys come up with a mutual plan. Hey, I'm going to do this for 3 years, 5 years. The plan may not always go as expected, but you had a plan. And then when things change, you rented your house. Hey, I got to stay another year. But after that year, I'm going back into my house, making money. Right. And then you got into the lending business, and you have been an incredible, successful mortgage broker for 25 plus years. So fantastic. We talked about the bad debts, right? Credit cards, student loans, car payments. I have topics on all these, right? Sometimes you need to pull out a student loan to go be a doctor, be an engineer, be X, Y, and Z. That requires that type of sophistication and knowledge and background. But if you have no idea what you want to do, stop, pause, get exposure before you know it in your heart what you want to do before you go take out that loan, because 34% of the people don't even use their degree. They don't. You know. And the credit cards, if you're starting a company, great debt to pull that out to fulfill that entrepreneurship mindset. But to do it on these convenience fees like Starbucks, McDonald's, and, you know, breakfast,
that's huge.
Learn to cook and love it. Learn to cook and learn to love cooking.
Yeah. And you know, you know, we talked about the bad debts, the car, the student loans, and credit cards. But as we thought about it, and you saw the light go on in my head, it's really that. Yeah. It's what I'm spending my money on a daily basis.
Death by 1,000 cuts.
Yes.
Truly.
Yeah.
And it's just sucking that opportunity cost from you guys. So the great tie-in here is that these couples that you've worked with for 15 years, all those properties that they purchased are probably worth more, significantly more than when they purchased it.
Way more.
Okay. Moral story is it ain't going to happen overnight.
Right.
But it's got to start. You got to start somewhere.
Someplace.
So at Real Life School, we know food, shelter, clothing, right? Yep. And we push real estate because it's a forced savings plan. You're either going to pay rent or you're going to pay a mortgage.
Right.
But I want that money to go back into their pocket. So, Vince, what a pleasure, man.
Tyler, was great.
Yeah. So today, Vince has been able to sponsor Real Life School podcast, which you can find at reallifeschool.com underneath the resource page, podcast. But if you need to contact Vince, his information is going to be in the bio there. He is Mortgages by Mazzocco Group. Incredible guy. Phone number, all that contact information will be there. And additionally, we have Jared with Air Connect. And if you guys are looking for a new build and need mechanical plans or any sort of contact with somebody that is a true professional in building and architectural, he's your guy. Also, link in the bio. And then Diligent Entertainment. We wouldn't be able to do this podcast studio if it wasn't for them and the team.
Stuff going on here.
Awesome. And last but not least, Real Life School. My job is to make sure that you guys are prepped for success. You guys have all the knowledge. I'm here to help you with your budget. I'm here to link you to mentors that have been there and done it and love doing it. You can call Vince and just schedule a one-on-one with him.
Yep.
And
Happy to help.
I'm really glad that you guys were able to share this time with us. So Vince, thank you, and we'll see you in the future.
Sounds good. Thanks, Tyler. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.